Have you seen that Facebook post from Daymond John, you know, the Shark Tank guy, where he's promoting national debt relief? Maybe you were even thinking about checking it out, but something felt off. Like, what is he actually endorsing? Is it a loan? Is it a program? Or how does it even work? Well, today we're going to walk through it together because there's more going on here than meets the eye. Hey everybody, it's Justin from Ascend, and in this video we're going to look at what Daymond John is actually promoting, what national debt relief does, and what real people are saying. Just a quick heads up, this video is just for informational purposes only and not legal or financial advice. Also, if you're trying to figure out what debt option might work for your situation, whether that's debt settlement, credit counseling, consolidation loans, even bankruptcy, we built a completely free calculator that compares all of your options. No emails even required unless you want us to reach out and help, and I'll explain more about this later in the video, so stick around. Okay, so let's start with the big question. Why is Daymond John promoting national debt relief? So Daymond's been really open about struggles with debt in the past. He's talked about being close to losing both his house and his company. So when you see someone like him endorsing a debt relief company, you may be thinking, oh, well, maybe he has used this kind of program himself. But here's the thing. There's really no clear sign that he's actually ever gone through a debt relief program through national debt relief. And even from the video on their site, it kind of looks more like a brand partnership. He says they help people get out of debt quickly and that he's excited to support them. But again, it's unclear if he's ever even enrolled in their program. So I guess what is the program they're offering? What is it? What they're actually pitching is what's called debt settlement. And here's how that works. So instead of paying your creditors directly, right, you actually stop making your payments. Now you're going to be making a payment into a special escrow bank account. And once you've kind of saved up enough money, the company will start negotiating with your creditors to try to settle your debt for less than what you owe. Sounds nice, right? But there's more going on with that. So here's a few things that some companies may not be upfront about. Well, one, your credit will most likely take a hit, right? Because you're usually having to fall behind on the debt, so negotiations can start. Now, of course, if you're already behind on your debt, then the credit score impact may be different, of course, right? Second, you're not necessarily legally protected during this process, meaning creditors do have the right to potentially sue you. Now, you may be able to get settlements even if they go into litigation, and I can cover that more in a video later, but creditors still may have the right to sue you. Third, there are fees, right? Companies charge you to actually settle this debt, and typically it's between 15 to 25% of the amount of debt you're enrolling. So let's say you're enrolling 20 grand into the program, then that may be $3,000 to $5,000 in fees. So yes, this kind of program can be helpful, but it's really important to understand what you're actually signing up for before you say, yes, let's do it. So let's talk about what real people are saying, because reviews can ultimately tell us a lot. So National Debt Relief has over 5,000 reviews on the Better Business Bureau with an average of 4.74 out of 5 stars. Now, that's a strong rating, but when you start digging in, something stands out. A lot of the 5-star reviews are focused on the first few interactions. People talk about how kind and helpful the representatives were, how relieved they were after the first call, and how they finally had hope again. And that absolutely matters. When you're in debt, that kind of support can be amazing. But what's interesting is that most of the praise is centered around the customer service experience, not necessarily the full journey or the end results. A lot of those reviews come from people who are still early in the program. But now let's check Reddit, where the tone may provide a little bit more insight. So some people there have said that they started the program but felt surprised by the fees or how long the process was going to take. Others shared that they switched to the nonprofit credit counseling option instead, which actually helped lower their interest rates without having the same kind of credit impact that a debt settlement program would have. One person mentioned starting with national debt relief, but eventually negotiating directly with the creditors once they understood how the process actually worked. That's not the right fit for everyone, but it does highlight that there are different paths people can take based on their comfort level. So overall, the reviews are mixed, but consistent with what we've seen in the industry. For some, this kind of program brings huge relief. For others, the experience wasn't what they expected. And that's why it's so important to look beyond the initial phone call and understand the full picture. Okay, let's pause here and talk about kind of our heart behind the calculator I was mentioning earlier. So if you're here, it's probably because you're trying to find real answers and not a sales pitch. And I've personally seen how debt can be super overwhelming and weigh people down. And what bothers me most is that there's some companies out there that may push people into one option and ultimately maybe the option that makes them the most money. But the truth is there are multiple paths forward and you deserve to see all of them clearly. And so that's why we built our calculator. It's free, it's pressure free, it doesn't ask you personal info unless you want us to reach out and help, and it lets you compare every major debt option side by side based on your actual numbers. It's not about selling you something, it's about helping you breathe again. All right, enough of the personal plug. So what if you don't want to do debt settlement? What are your other options? Well, let's talk about a few alternatives. Option number one, nonprofit credit counseling. Now this one is often overlooked because it can honestly be a great fit. What happens is a certified credit counselor helps you lower your interest rates, combine your debts into one payment, and then pay everything off in like a 3 to 5 year payment period. It typically won't hurt your credit the same like debt settlement would because your accounts are staying current. All right, option number two, an actual debt consolidation loan. So if your credit's in a solid spot and you qualify, this lets you actually pay off your high interest debts with hopefully a low interest loan. It can simplify things, save you money, but the challenge is not everyone qualifies. All right, option number three, bankruptcy. So if your debt is just unmanageable, bankruptcy actually might be the cleanest path forward. It's not for everyone, but for some folks, it's the fastest way to reset and rebuild credit. Again, all of these options are laid out in the calculator that I've been mentioning. So you can see the costs, the pros and cons, all the different options. Okay, so to wrap this all up, if you're considering national debt relief, just know this. It's a legit program, and for the right people, it can work. But it's ultimately important to go into it with your eyes wide open. Understand the credit impact, the fees, and what it really takes to succeed in a program like this. And also, it may not make necessarily sense to just purely go off a celebrity endorsement, especially if that person may have not gone through the program themselves. If you're looking for more clarity though, take a minute today to check out our free calculator linked below. It shows you what your options you may qualify for based on your numbers and not someone's sales script. And now that you've gotten a better understanding of debt relief, I'm gonna put a video here where we break down how credit counseling compares to debt settlement step by step. That way you can figure it out and whether that's right for you. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. If this video helped, hit the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you and we'd love to help. Thanks so much for watching.